Another one of the sensory organ is ear. Ear is the organ that enables hearing and in mammals and balancing. Ear is the very important organ of the hearing. Okay. In mammals, the ear is usually described as having three parts. First one is outer ear, middle ear, and internal ear. Outer ear, it is seen the green color. This is the outer ear. This is the middle blue, that is middle ear, and yellow, the orange color is internal ear. The first is the outer ear. The outer ear, it is consist of the following organ. Pinna. First one is the pinna. This is the pinna. Pinna is the oval funnel shaped organ. Okay. It is made up of a elastic cartilage and it collects the sound waves from the atmosphere. Okay, it collects sound wave from the atmosphere or sound. Okay, next, external auditory canal. Second one is the external auditory canal. A tube-like structure contains hair and wax glands. Okay, in external auditory canals, a tube-like structure. This is external auditory canal. This is a tube-like structure contains hairs and wax glands. The hairs, it will absorb the sound waves, and wax is the antibacterial activity. Okay, next, it continues to tympanic membrane. Okay, third one is the tympanic membrane or eardrum. This is the tympanic membrane or eardrum. A thin oval membranous structure. It is made up of a connective tissue. Eardrum is a thin oval membranous structure. It is made up of a connective tissue. Next, second one is the middle ear. Okay, middle ear, it consists of a tympanic cavity. Tympanic cavity, it is connected with the nasopharynx by the passage called eustachian tube. Okay, the first, it is a consist of a tympanic cavity. The tympanic, this is, you see the diagram, this is the tympanic cavity. Okay, next, it is connected with the nasopharynx by a passage called as a eustachian tube. Eustachian tube. Okay, it is controls the air pressure of the cavity, of thus protects the tympanic membrane. Eustachian tube, it controls the air pressure of the cavity and thus protects the tympanic membrane. Next, the inner wall of the tympanic cavity. The inner wall of the tympanic cavity contains two apertures. That is, upper is called as a fenestra ovals and lower is called as a fenestra rotunda. It is also called as fenestra ovals. It is called as oval window, and fenestra rotundum, it is called as a round window. The next, middle ear contains, there are three types of air ossicles are present in middle ear. There are three types of ossicles, air bones. Okay, it is, first one is the malleus. It is a outer hammer shaped. You see the diagram, it is like hammer shaped structure. It is attached to the tympanic membrane. That is a eardrum. Next, second one is the incus. The incus is, one end is connected to malleus and another end is to stapes. This is, see the diagram, it is a incus, one end connected to the malleus, another end connected to the stapes. Next, third one is the stapes. It is fit into the oval window. The stapes is fit into the oval window or fenestra ovals. Next, third one is the internal ear. It is also called as labyrinth. Okay. Next, the membranous labyrinth and bony labyrinth. There are two types of the covers. The first one is the membrane labyrinth and bony labyrinth. The membrane labyrinth is surrounded by the bone labyrinth. Okay. Both are separated by the perilymphatic space. Means the membrane labyrinth is surrounded by the bone labyrinth as shown in the diagram. Both are separated by the perilymphatic space, which is filled with the perilymph. Okay, the both are separated by the perilymphatic space, which is filled with the perilymph. Okay, next, membrane labyrinth is filled with fluid called as a endolymph. Okay, endolymph. The labyrinth is structurally made up of, you see the diagram, this is the bony labyrinth. Okay, this is membranous labyrinth. Okay, this is both between the separated by the perilymphatic space, which is filled with the perilymph. Okay, the membranous labyrinth is filled with the fluid called as a endolymph. The labyrinth is structurally made up of three parts. The labyrinth or internal layer, it is made up of three parts. First one, vestibule. Second one, semicircular canal. Third one is the cochlea. You see the diagram. First one is the vestibule. Vestibule is a, you see the diagram, vestibule is a central portion of the bony labyrinth. It is consists of a sac-like structure called as a article and saccule. You see the diagram. This is the vestibule. Okay, there are two sac-like structures, that is article and saccule. Next, second one is the semicircular canal. Semicircular canal, there are three semicircular canals. Okay, first one is the superior canal or anterior canal, posterior canal and horizontal canal are arranged at the right angle to each other. These are the anterior canal, posterior canal and horizontal canal. There are three types of semicircular canals. Okay, next, they are arranged at the right angle to each other. Next, each canal has enlarged structure called as ampulla. Each canal has enlarged structure. Each canal is called ampulla. Each ampulla consists of a sensory structures, and each ampulla contains sensory structures called as a crista ampullaris, which helps in the maintenance of the equilibrium. These three crista ampullaris which helps in the maintenance of the equilibrium. Next, third one is the cochlea. You see the cochlea. It is like snail. Okay, you see like snail. Now cochlea is a long delicate coiled tube enclosed into the cochlear canal. The cochlear duct with cochlear canal are collectively referred as cochlear duct, and cochlear canal are collectively referred as a cochlea. Both are combined with the, that is known as referred as a cochlea. The cochlea has three chambers. You see the diagram in the cochlea have a three chambers. Okay, this is the TS of the cochlea. You see the diagram. This is normal cochlea figure. This is the TS, transverse section of cochlea. The cochlea has three chambers. First one is the scala vestibule. It is a upper chamber. Scala media is a middle chamber. Scala tympani is a lower chamber. Scala vestibula is a upper chamber. Scala media is the middle chamber. Scala tympani is the lower of the chamber. The middle chamber is filled with in the middle scala media is filled with the endolymph. The floor of the scala media, is called as a basilar membrane. The scala media, it is called as a base layer membrane. which bears the organ of Corti, which bears the organ of Corti. This is, see the diagram in the scala media. This is the organ of Corti. Okay, this is the organ of Corti. The scala vestibules and scala tympani are filled with the lymph. They are joined to each other by helicotremia. Helicotremia. This is the helicotremia structure. Okay. Helicotremia. Okay. Next, fourth is the organ of Corti. Organ of Corti, which consists of a receptor cells, helps in the transmission of sounds to brain. Okay. The organ of Corti is the important, which consists of a receptors. The organ Corti containing the receptors. That receptor cells helps in the transmission of sound to the Corti to the brain. Okay. Next, you see the diagram. Okay. What is the mechanism of hearing? How to the sound waves enters into our ear, and what is the mechanism of the sound signal mechanism. Okay. The mechanism of hearing or physiology of hearing. You see the diagram, animated diagram. Okay. The sound waves that reaches the ear are directed by the external pinna. Okay. The sound waves that reaches the ear are directed by the external pinna into the auditory canal to strike the eardrum. To strike the eardrum, that is known as a tympanic membrane. Eardrum, it is also called as tympanic membrane. The sound waves reaches the ear direct into the external pinna into the auditory canal to strike the eardrum. Okay, next, when the sound waves strike the eardrum, then it vibrates. It further causes series of vibration. After the sound waves strike to the eardrum, then it vibrates. It further causes the series of vibrations to the three tiny bones. These are malleus, incus, stapes, which are present in the middle ear. Next, the vibration transmits to the inner ear called as a cochlea. These vibration transmission to the inner ear. After inner ear, their cranial nerves is there. That cranial nerves, they will signals transport to the eighth cranial nerve. That is our eighth cranial nerve. That is message transmit to the ear to the cochlea to the brain. Next, the cochlea is lined with the sensitive hairs which trigger the generation of nerve impulses. You see the diagram. Okay, the outer ear, middle ear and inner ear. The sound waves, the cochlea is lined with the sensitive hair which trigger the generation of nerve impulses which are carried by the eighth cranial nerve to the brain, cerebral cortex. That is brain, eighth cranial nerve to brain, that is cerebral, they connected between the cerebral cortex of the brain. Thus brain determines the senses of the sound. These brain determine the senses of the sound. Next, equilibrium. The second mechanism, equilibrium, maintenance of the balance. There are two types of maintenance of balance. First one is the dynamic equilibrium. Second one is the static equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium. The movement of the head causes widening of hairs of the cristae and flow the endolymph to generate in electrical impulses which is carried to the brain by eighth cranial nerve. Means in the dynamic equilibrium, the movement of the head causes widening of hair of the cristae and flow the endolymph to generate the electrical impulses. To movement of the head which is carried to the brain by eighth cranial nerve. Next, second one, static equilibrium. Static equilibrium, it is controlled by the maculae. Change of head for body respect to the gravity. Change of head respect to the gravity causes the definition of maculae. This causes initiation of the electrical impulses.